This episode of Beyond the Backyard is brought to you by Ultimate Archery and Outdoors, Ultimate Deer Products, Edutrax Incorporated, Red Light Flue Pot Seed Company, Tacticam, and by Jay's Sporting Goods. Welcome back to Beyond the Backyard, the podcast where we dive deep into everything hunting, fishing, and the Michigan great outdoors. I'm your host, Steve Kredovic, and today talking about one of my favorite times of the year to hit the woods, early season bow hunting here in the great state of Michigan. Before we get started, I want to thank our sponsors, Ultimate Archery and Outdoors, Ultimate Deer Products, Edutrax Incorporated, Red Light Flue Pot Seed Company, Tacticam, and Jay's Goods. Now, whether you're chasing that early season velvet buck or just trying to fill the freezer before the rut kicks in, there's a ton of opportunity and a fair share of challenges as well in the first few weeks of October. So grab your coffee, grab your beer, grab a bow, and let's talk tactics, gear, and stand placement, and more. All right, let's state the obvious. Early season bow hunting in Michigan is no walk in the park. You've got warmer temps, mosquitoes the size of hummingbirds, and thick vegetation that makes visibility but you can push through the discomfort. There are some big rewards out there for you. First of all, bucks are still on summer feeding patterns, and they're predictable. If you've done your homework with trail cameras or glass from a distance, that can be a huge help when it comes to the early season. Biggest early season challenge is thermals and scent control. When it's hot and humid, your scent spreads like wildfire. We'll dive into scent tactics in a few minutes here. This is where the work you do in August and September really pays off. Bucks are creatures of habit in early October. They're still moving from bed to feed in fairly consistent patterns. And start by finding bedding near ag fields, corn, beans, even hay fields. If you got apples or acorns nearby, there's usually bedding close by that and traveling short distances from the bedding to the food source. So some key tools are, first of all, trail cameras. Focus with your trail cameras on travel corridors, in ledges is your best chance for that. And then when it comes, do some observation sits, sit a few hundred yards back, glass the field edges before diving right in. Remember, don't burn your best stands early. Sometimes that intel is more valuable than a rushed sit. I've definitely learned more over the years that I used to go out there and sit a ton and really kill some great spots by over-sitting early on. Sometimes that spot might be right to the rut, and sometimes it might be ready that first day of bow season. So make sure that you're ready to go when the time is right. Let's talk groceries, early season food sources. If you've got soybeans still green, that is money. Alfalfa, that is even better. And if you've got planted food plots, a good clover or brassica patch can be a magnet. Now, don't overlook natural food. White acorns are like candy to deer. If you find a tree dropping near bedding, that could be your early season hotspot. Another thing when it comes to food is your weather. Now, let's talk weather. Early season bucks are lazy. They're not going to move unless they have a good reason. But drop that temperature 10 to 15 degrees and suddenly they're on their feet an hour earlier. Cold front equals green light. That first 45 to 50 degree evening after a hot stretch, mark it, hunt it, be there. Some of my best sits have been that first cold period. You've had 70, 80 degree days, and all of a sudden now you see a 20 degree change the one night or the one morning. Get out there and sit. That's going to be your best chance. Those big slumps in temperatures, those big drops in temperatures is where I see a lot of movement, a lot of deer being killed in that early season. Keep an eye on the barometric pressure too. I like a 30 or higher, steady or rising, or seem to be best. Also, overcast skies and a light drizzle can work in your favor, especially when paired with a cold front. Now, when you got all this together, you're going to have a good stand axis and a good setup going into season. It's easy to get lazy, but if you bump deer go in or out, that stand is going to be basically done for a while. Enter from downwind, stay in low visibility areas, use tall grass, creek beds, whatever you've got, use it to get in there quietly without being seen. Use saddle or mobile setup if you're going to hunt in blind or hunting off fresh intel. And also remember, less is more. If you don't have the right wind, don't push it and wait. I understand that. We are people that work 5 days a week. It's probably hard to get out there at night for a lot of people that are getting out at 5 o'clock. maybe sometimes you got too much going on. You can only hunt on Saturday, but try to pick the best time if possible. I know it's tough. We're in a busy world, and sometimes you can't hunt every day or the best wind. But if possible, if you have a chance, wait for the right wind to get into your stand. Now, quick gear rundown for early season in Michigan. Lightweight camo. You're going to sweat. I wear moisture wicking stuff and pack in a hoodie or a jacket. A thermal cell is absolute must. Don't get eaten alive. The mosquitoes will carry you away during the early season. Ozone or scent control spray. You want a safety harness. Every time, no excuses. I have heard too many people that have fallen out of stand deer hunting, breaking their backs, dragging themselves back in, paralyzed for life. Don't let it happen to you. I know sometimes even those lifelines are a money item. Be able to lock yourself in and be locked in the whole time up to your stand and the whole time down. Because I know a lot of guys that wear harnesses, even just get into your stand before they clip in, they have fallen and broken their backs. So do everything you can to be safe. You need to go home to your family. Deer isn't worth your life. A deer isn't worth being able to never be able to walk again. So take the time, be safe. Another thing is make sure you have a headlamp with a red and green light to keep your presence low. Always bring binoculars. Early season sits are all about observation and patterning. But just make sure that you are always taking notes of what you're seeing out there during this early season. It can really help you for the later season on how you're going to go about changing things up. Maybe if they're not coming into where you're at, maybe you need to make an estimate and move your stand a little bit. Do what you need to do in that early season to set yourself up to make sure you can put yourself in the best possible location to shoot a buck. Some of you are hunting private ground, others are diving into public. Here's how I approach both. Now, private land, use the early season to surgically target bucks on patterns. Low impact, 1 or 2 sits in a hot spot can make it happen. Now, public land, go where others won't. Get off the trail. Find overlooked food sources or bedding. Hunt evenings. Morning hunts on public and early season can do more harm than good unless you're got a bulletproof axis. Now, early season shots can be tricky. Low light, thick leaves, jumpy deer. Pick your shots. No shame in letting one walk if the angle's bad or you're unsure about the yardage. And it's hot out. Recovery can get dicey fast. Be ready to trail and get that deer out and cool down as quick as possible. So that's even more of a reason to take your time. Maybe hold off if you don't have a shot because you don't have that safety net of that colder weather to let your deer all night. If you have 70-degree nights or 65, 60-degree nights, you don't have that safety net to let that injured deer or that deer that maybe you can't find sit all night until you're able to get out there the next morning. So take the time to make great shots so you're not wasting a deer and not finding that awesome buck. Also, be mindful of early season pressure. You're setting the tone for the rest of the season. Don't blow up in your wood October 2nd, chasing maybe a buck at 40 yards through the leaves. Quick story before we wrap up here is last year, I did exactly what we said about the temperature change. So I typically don't sit until the rut. I love rut, and I love early season too, but I go off everything that I'm seeing on camera. And if I'm not having bucks on camera typically in the early season, I won't waste my time and sit. Because for the pure example, like I talked earlier, I don't want to burn out a spot during the early season and ruin it for the rest of the year. But last year, I really wasn't seeing much on camera early season. Wasn't having anything truly patterned. They were every 10 days, so nothing that I could plan on. But one thing that I did see, and the tip I talked about temperatures earlier, it was hot as could be. 85 degrees in October. Scorching hot for 2 weeks straight up here in northern Michigan. And then we had a 20-degree change, if not more. I think it took actually one night went from like 75 for a high, and it was supposed to be like 50 the next day, and it was supposed to be down in the mid-40s at night. I went out that night, and I ended up shooting a great, I think it was a great 7-pointer. It wasn't the biggest buck, but by going off that temperature change, that huge drop in change, it really changed in how they move. It got them actually up on their feet earlier. They were checking out different areas. So watch your temperatures. Look for those big drops after a hot streak, and that can really set you up for some success when it comes to early season. That's going to wrap up this episode of Beyond the Backyard. If you're headed out for the Michigan early season, play it smart, watch the weather, watch your wind, don't overhunt, and most importantly, enjoy the woods. That's what it's all about. If you like this episode, leave a comment, share it, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss an episode. And as always, hunt smart, stay safe, and we'll catch you next time beyond the backyard.